Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Watching Washington, a public affairs program brought to you by the Brian Lamb School of Communication. It's Sunday, October 26th, and I'm Adeline Wheat.
And I'm Stella Fisher. Let's take a look at the top stories from this week.
Today marks the 26th day of the government shutdown, making it the second longest in American history. In response, states are taking action as the shutdown impacts government programs, like food assistance programs such as the SNAP across the nation. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced deployment of the California National Guard to assist food banks. Governor Newsom said, quote, "Millions of Americans rely on food benefits to feed their families, and while Republicans in Washington drag their feet, California is stepping up once again to fill the gaps." The governor's office stated troops will not act in a law enforcement capacity and will only support food distribution and keep food banks stocked. Newsom also announced up to $80 million of fast-track state support ahead of funding delays as the shutdown continues. This is the second time the California Military Department has supported food banks under Governor Newsom, as service members played a role in food distribution during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Last Saturday, millions took to the streets nationwide for the second No Kings protests against President Trump. An estimated 5 to 6.5 million people joined over 2,700 mostly peaceful events across all 50 states, making it likely the largest single-day protest since 1970. Protesters rallied against threats to democracy, ICE raids, federal cuts, and troop deployments in U.S. cities. The demonstrations come amid a federal shutdown and soaring political unrest, with over 29,000 protests logged since Trump's second inauguration. This is what President Trump had to say about the protests during a recent public statement.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President, besides San Francisco...
By the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
The No Kings movement continues to draw national attention, with organizers calling for transparency and accountability in government. While critics argue that it is politically driven, officials reported most events remained peaceful.
The demolition of the White House's East Wing began Monday in preparation for a ballroom commissioned by President Trump. He has expressed dislike for the current hosting venues at the White House. These include tents on the South Lawn and East Room, which sat 200 people. The new ballroom will seat over 900 and will be the size of 1.5 football fields. According to Trump, no public funds will be used. Instead, the $250 million project will be funded by private donors and Trump himself. This is not the first time the White House has been renovated. After burning down in the War of 1812, it was rebuilt completely soon. The north and south porticos were added. 1909 brought the Oval Office. Later, an underground bunker was added, and the East Wing was built on top. Soon after, the inside was stripped and rebuilt with concrete and steel. Other additions include the Rose Garden and a basketball and tennis court. While these projects were met with backlash, many additions became iconic. Trump expects the ballroom to be completed before his term ends in January 2029.
Indiana Governor Mike Braun signed a proclamation declaring October 21st as Turning Point USA Civic Engagement Day. The proclamation invites all citizens to duly note this occasion, as the state recognizes Turning Point USA's contributions to civic education and youth engagement. Governor Mike Braun posted on Facebook on Tuesday stating, "Today I signed a proclamation declaring it Turning Point USA Civic Engagement Day and recognizing Charlie Kirk's critically important role in engaging the next generation of leaders."
The New York City mayoral race could get tighter with only a few weeks to go before Election Day. The most recent Gotham Polling and Analytics poll show that controversial Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani has the lead with 43.2% of the vote. Andrew Cuomo is the closest candidate to Mamdani with 28.9% of the vote, and Curtis Sliwa holds only 19.4% of the vote. Despite Mamdani's lead, the poll finds that Cuomo could close in should Sliwa, the only Republican candidate, drop out in that scenario. Mamdani could figure to have a 44.6 to 40.7% lead in the polls. Despite the pressure to drop out, Sliwa has made it clear that he does not intend to.
I remember when many of the same powers to be were asking Donald Trump to drop out in his re-election bid, and they wanted him to move aside for Ron DeSantis. How did that work out? Look, people have a right, but I was taught in elementary school, one person, one vote. I was never taught one person, one vote, but let the billionaires decide or the political elite. We have an election taking place.
Should Sliwa choose to stay in the race until the end, Mamdani would have a high probability of becoming New York's next mayor. The election will take place on Tuesday, November 4th.
Up next, crown jewels were stolen from the Louvre Museum in Paris, France last Sunday.
Plus, Japan has its first female prime minister. Stay with us. More Watching Washington next.
Imagine a world where Olympics and Paralympics are unified as one, and where all athletes at all levels have equal opportunities to play and perform at their full potential.
Athletics has been such an influential and transformative aspect of my life. So to me, RISE is about ensuring that every person that has the desire to participate in sport has the opportunity to do so.
This organization is about recognition. We believe in recognizing excellence where it is found, especially in Paralympic sports.
RISE is about driving change in our community and beyond. We hope that through our events and initiatives, we can galvanize people for our cause and inspire them to create an ever-growing network to help achieve our mission.
It's about connecting people of various backgrounds and who truly care about creating meaningful change together.
We develop projects and hold events to bring people together at the interface of inclusivity, sports, and engineering.
Our goal is to promote the equality of all sports and to improve sports performance and accessibility.
Join us so that you can have a major contribution in creating meaningful change.
The France's crown jewels were stolen from the Louvre Museum in Paris. Last Sunday, 4 thieves broke into the museum and stole 8 pieces of jewelry. The heist took place around 9:30 a.m. and lasted just 4 minutes. The robbers disguised themselves as construction workers and used a machine-powered ladder to gain access to the balcony. They smashed 2 display cases holding jewelry belonging to Emperor Napoleon and his wife. The suspects escaped on 2 motorbikes when police arrived, 3 minutes after the breach. They found 2 angle grinders, a blowtorch, gasoline gloves, a walkie-talkie, a blanket, and the crown of Empress Eugenie left behind. The crown jewels hold deep cultural significance and are considered a symbol of French national pride, so the heist has sparked outrage across France over the museum's and other cultural sites' lack of security measures. The Louvre director, Laurence Descartes, admitted that the heist exposed the museum's security weaknesses. The only camera surveying the gallery was not facing the balcony where the thieves broke in. French Senator Nathalie Goulet calls the heist something from a bad Netflix film.
I think that it's a sponsor and the things that's been organized. The jewelry will be cut up or butchered and sold. I don't think anything else. I think that the moral of the French people are going to be totally broken by this new episode from a very, very bad Netflix film.
The investigation is still ongoing, but authorities are facing pressure to recover the diamonds before they are destroyed, sold, and lose their history forever.
Japan has officially elected their first female prime minister, Seinahi Takaichi. The new prime minister is considered one of the most conservative members of her party and has expressed an interest in increasing Japan's military spending. Takaichi has also promised an increased number of female members in her cabinet and has been a longtime advocate for women's health research and women's hospitals. President Trump is set to visit Japan to meet with Takaichi in the coming weeks. The new prime minister says she is looking forward to meeting and hopes it will strengthen U.S. and Japan relations.
Nuclear tensions rise as talks between the United States and Russia grind to a halt. On Wednesday, October the 22nd, Russian forces conducted nuclear drills using strategic bomber submarines and ground-based missile launchers. President Donald Trump canceled his scheduled meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin regarding the war in Ukraine. Trump felt it would be a waste of time, as neither side could agree on concessions.
We canceled the meeting with President Putin. It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get, so I canceled it. But we'll do it in the future. In terms of honesty, the only thing I can say is every time I speak with Vladimir, I have good conversations, and then they don't go anywhere. They just don't go anywhere.
Russian President Vladimir Putin claims that the drills were planned and are not in retaliation for the canceled meeting.
Now let's check in with Purdue for the latest updates. Purdue football took on Rutgers University for homecoming this Saturday. On Friday, Purdue had the annual homecoming parade with the historic University Hall being open for the first time since fall 2023. The newly renovated building features classroom space, recovered student space, and includes the gathering hub. The renovations preserve the historical character of the 148-year-old building while honoring the building's legacy. College traditions can be found on every campus, bringing students together and building school spirit. Purdue students and fans keep the tradition alive every football game by shaking their keys before kickoff. If one does not have keys, you might even see shoes being taken off and put in the air. At Texas Tech University, instead of key shaking, they throw tortillas. This university is now getting their tradition of tortilla throwing banned after Red Raiders were penalized twice and fined for objects being thrown onto the field in their most recent home game. The Big 12 rule states that officials will issue a warning for a first offense and assess 15-yard penalties thereafter.
Our in-studio guest this week is Tippecanoe County Sheriff Robert Goldsmith. We'll get his take on public safety in the future of the county.
The full interview just ahead on Watching Washington.
I mean, every year's different, but it hasn't changed that much. Our league is just ominous, and you better lace them up tight and be ready to play every night. If not, you're going to get beat.
We have a special guest with us in the studio this week.
Robert Goldsmith is the sheriff of Tippecanoe County. Let's now go to Watching Washington's Chinwei, who is standing by with this week's interview.
Today we have with us Sheriff Robert Goldsmith of Tippecanoe County, Indiana, here to talk to us about public safety, community trust, and the future of Tippecanoe Sheriff's Office. Before we get into the questions, tell us a little bit about your role as sheriff.
Oh man, you said 15 to 20 minutes. It could go longer than that. So no, as sheriff, there's a lot of things I could tell you, but I don't know who all you're going to talk with in law enforcement. Being a sheriff is much different than being a police chief. There's a lot of similarities, but it's pretty different in that our main responsibility and liability is the safety and security of the jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. And then, you have the court system and things like that. But, and really the role too, it's an elected position,
yes,
which the police chiefs aren't. And I don't know if that's the direction you're going. I mean, we'll learn all that as we go. But, so I work, anybody in public service, you work for the people. Mm-hmm. I'm elected by the people. We're term limited. So we're limited to 2 4-year terms, which I'm on my second term. So I'm done after this. So there'll be somebody new. But my role here is basically managing the sheriff's office, but also doing everything I can to provide them the tools and resources they need to do their jobs. And that's everyone, providing them with training and the equipment and resources, but mainly building an environment here where people want to come to work. And I think my team has done a great job of doing that. And I say team because we're all in this together. Mm-hmm. I know I have the title as sheriff, but I'm not one that's always focused on titles and all that. I don't think I'm more important than anybody in this building. It takes all of us. So
yeah,
that's the biggest thing, I guess. But as far as anything. I mean, you'd have to ask because literally I could go on for
Yeah.
hours on this role. So there's a lot to it.
Yes, and to follow up with that, you've obviously been in law enforcement for quite some time, and you have seen the county change over the years. So, what crime trends have you noticed during your time as sheriff?
Trends, so I've been in this for 28 years now. The trends I see are more obviously drug use.
Yeah.
It kind of goes up and down depending on what drugs are coming into our community. With that, property crimes, burglaries, theft from vehicles, and things like that. It seems that assaults and shootings and stuff like that seem to be higher than what they were, but there are times in the history of our county where there was actually more murders and shootings in a similar time frame, like say in a year, if you will. But I think too, the biggest thing a lot of individuals don't realize when they say, "Oh my gosh, crime's skyrocketing here in Tippecanoe County or Lafayette compared to the way it used to be." Well, unfortunately, that's true, and a lot of it has to do with we're at about 215,000 people now, so there's a tremendous growth in the county. It's just gonna keep growing. So naturally, there's going to be more incidents of crime. You are never going to get rid of crime. Unfortunately, it's just going to happen. We can do everything we possibly can with programs and community outreach and things like that to help deter it and build relationships of trust with the citizens that we serve. But ultimately, there's still going to be crime. It's always going to be there. It's been there since the beginning of time. So trends, that's mainly what I see. Drugs, property crimes, and they come and go. The biggest trend, and it's not a crime, is mental health. We are in a major mental health crisis, and a lot of times people are looking to us to, now I wouldn't say fix the issue, but kind of control it in our jail. But I don't believe somebody that's mentally ill belongs in a jail. Now, if they've committed a crime, absolutely. But I think there's times that their mental illness has put them in a situation to commit crime. And I believe if you're able to provide some services, maybe it's here in the jail, we can't force anything on anyone, or out in the community, maybe we can get that individual on the right path. Proper medication, therapy and such. But mental health is huge. We have, let's see, I'll look at our department app here. If you don't have our app, download our app and you can get all kinds of information. But right now we have 498 people in jail. So in the last 2 hours, 3 more people have gotten out of jail.
Yeah.
And a very high percentage of those individuals suffer from addiction and or a mental health issue. And that's a trend that I don't know how we make it go in the right directions, which is down. It seems like it's just getting worse. I don't know if that has to do with the lifestyles of some of these individuals. And I know somebody has a car crash or something and they bump their head and something happens, or they start taking drugs and something happens and it puts them down that path of having a mental illness. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I can tell you from my experience, it is a major problem in our community. And problem may be taken out of context, but it's a major issue. It's something that we're not doctors and therapists here. We're cops.
Yeah.
We do the best we can.
Yeah, you definitely get a different perspective when you watch those firsthand. To piggyback off of that, can you go a little bit more in depth in what you did to combat those trends?
So what I've done is when we've had issues of burglaries or theft from vehicles or things like that in, I'll say, subdivisions or areas of the county that fall under our jurisdiction, which, yes, it's all Tippecanoe County. But what I've learned is not everybody understands This is what West Lafayette's in control. You know, it's their jurisdiction, Lafayette. But what I've done is when we've had an issue, we've talked with the HOA or residents in a subdivisions, and we've absolutely flooded that with sheriff deputies and done what we can to, and this is I'm gonna sound hypocritical here, but work with me. Arrest our way out of a problem. Now, you cannot arrest your way out of a problem. But what we've done is went into those neighborhoods, and I've asked people to show your presence, make your presence known, but you be respectful. People are speeding, pull them over, make contact, talk to them. Somebody's outside barbecuing, get out, talk to them. Walking their dog, just, you know, exercising, doing a walk, talk to them. Talk to everybody. Don't single anyone out. But make your presence known. And what you find a lot of times is the problems leave. They don't want to be where the police are. And the times we've done it, we've been very successful in building relationships of trust with those citizens. And then once we are done doing that, I go down and meet with them in the neighborhoods and have conversations with them, get their feedback. Some of them don't like it. But I tell them, you know, when the majority of people are reaching out for help and my deputies are down here taking call after call of cars getting broke into and houses, you know, being shot at and people being assaulted, we're going to be here. So if you don't like it, I'm going to suggest you move, because I don't want it in the community, and the people that are here deserve to be able to walk in a neighborhood and feel safe, and kids should be able to go to the park. So that's what we've done in those areas where those trends increase. As far as the jail, again, that's our number one responsibility. We've implemented programs to help those that want help. Again, you can't force anybody to do anything, but we've done what we can by implementing programs where they teach life skills, which is something I believe is missing from our schools now. I think they have some type of life skills, but I know when I was in school, we started home ec at a very early age, learned how to sew, learned how to iron, learned how to bake and cook simple meals, record keeping, keeping a checkbook, banking and stuff like that. And it seems to be, at least with the population of people that are incarcerated here, that's something they lack. How to fill out a resume, how to get electricity, your utilities turned on. So we implemented a program back there that helps teach them that. We brought in IRACs, which is a peer-based program. So there's people that have been through this system, they're now coming into the jail and being able to talk with those people one-on-one at the peer level, because I don't speak their language, if that makes sense. I don't know what it's like to walk in their shoes because I haven't lived that life, but those that have, they're more apt to interact with them, whereas they may not talk to me at all. And I understand that. So that's another program we've implemented to help keep our population down. I will tell you, when I came into office, we hold 603 people here at the jail, and we were at 606, 600 a lot. We started implementing those programs, and we're now, I just told you, we're at 498. So when I came in, there was a study done that they recommended building a 299 bed pod housing facility. I made the recommendation of building another building so we could move some of our daily operations, our detectives and stuff, into another building, free up some space here and focus more on programming to help keep the population down. And it's worked. That's with the help of the judges, the prosecutor, community corrections. There's some people with lower level crimes that could go to community corrections instead of sitting here and waiting to go to prison. So it's worked. And I'm proud of my team. All I did was suggest the idea. It's everybody else that has to make it work. And I believe in my team here. We are not perfect. We are human beings, and we mess up, and we deal with it when we mess up. But all in all, they all bought in, and they've done a tremendous job.
All right. I know you touched on this a little bit, but public safety isn't just about statistics. It's also about relationships. So, in your view, what's the most effective way to strengthen trust between law enforcement and residents?
Communication. That's quick, easy. And what you're finding, I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask you. but you go to college, you have one of these, right?
Mhm.
Everybody does. It is so quick now to jump on social media, look at whatever's being put out there, comment, and say whatever you want.
Mhm.
There's not too many people anymore that can sit in a room, look somebody in the face, and tell them exactly what they just typed. So I feel that it's best to sit down one-on-one, one on 30. I don't care. I'll speak to an entire gym full of people and just have those conversations. And sometimes you're going to have to agree to disagree, but you have to communicate and communicate beyond the keyboard and hiding behind the screen. You've got to sit down, old school, old days, whatever you want to call it, around the table and have conversations and be able to walk away from those and grow as an individual and grow as a group. And again, understand we just may have to disagree, but I don't hate you for what you believe. And I think right now, what I am seeing is, especially on social media, I run a lot of our social media. We have a part-time Purdue student that's helping now. But there's so many people that just troll pages with fake accounts. They aren't from here. They just reach out and they just start comment stuff that's not true. It's not true. Sit down and have the conversations and go to community events and just, you got to talk to people. That is what builds communities of trust. It's so easy to sit behind a keyboard and behind a screen and say whatever you want, but sit down with somebody and get to know them. And I think that's what we need to do, not just in law enforcement, but as a community, because it's not just law enforcement people are bashing on and yelling and screaming. It's everybody. And I'm not one that believes just because you're screaming the loudest means you're right. I was raised that you always got to watch out for the quiet one in the room, the one that listens to everything. And then at the end of if the meeting's 45 minutes and all of a sudden with 3 minutes to go, that person that's been sitting in the back starts talking, you better listen because they've taken everything in that's been said. So that's what I believe. It's communication. That's the best thing you can do.
Yes, absolutely. And as you said earlier, Tippecanoe County has been growing quickly in recent years. As the community expands, what safety concerns do you believe will become more urgent in the next year?
Wow. Well, here's my safety concerns. And I'm glad you said this, and I hope everybody watches this.
Mm-hmm.
The safety concerns are, as currently right now, we do not have enough patrolmen to police the streets of Tippecanoe County, the county roads, the highway, and everything else in the manner that it needs to be. And I don't mean going out and pulling people over and serving all the warrants and everything. The majority of time we're spending during a shift is at the hospital, sitting with inmates or transporting people for emergency detention orders or transporting juveniles. We're doing a lot of other things other than patrolling the subdivisions and having those conversations with community groups, because we're so short-staffed. Now, I'll tell you, we're full-staffed in that we're approved for 72 deputies and we're full, but we should have over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And at the rate we're approving subdivisions and the community's growing, I don't know how often you get outside of Purdue or how familiar you are with Tippecanoe County. Again, I've lived here my whole life. This place is exploding with growth.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't start adding to our first responders, and that's medical, that's fire, that's police, that growth's going to stop and actually go backwards, and we're going to have empty buildings because people aren't going to go where they don't feel safe. You know what I mean? There's places I've been, I don't walk around in fear, but there's places I've been around the United States where I go, you probably shouldn't be here, but you just don't feel safe. And right now, I know you see things on the news and people say, I don't feel safe. Well, it's because they need clicks. But all in all, this is a very safe community. Again, crime's going to happen, but my fear is we aren't keeping pace with public service. And part of that problem is the pay. This office is grossly underpaid from what the other police agencies in the county receive. And we are not keeping up with the sheriff's offices around us in the surrounding counties. And we are by far much, much bigger than all of those other agencies. Most of them, you can combine 4 counties around us and we still have a bigger population, but that's the problem. It's going to be retention. I told them when I came into office that I can build a team and an environment where people were going to want to come to work. And we've done that, but they're going to have to pay them at some point. And as you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's expensive to live here.
Yeah, it is.
And you can go right across the county line and it's a lot cheaper.
Mhm.
So we're wanting, I feel you want your first responders, your police, fire, and medical to live in the county that they serve, but salaries aren't keeping up
Mhm.
to have people live here. And it's not that the police don't feel safe, it's they can't afford a house when the average house is around $300,000 now. It's very difficult. So that's what I feel. I'm not, like I said, crime's going to happen. My fear is we are not keeping up with the growth of the community. We just aren't. And that's what I'm afraid of. If they don't do something, we're going to go backwards here and people aren't going to feel safe and they're going to stop moving here. Businesses will stop coming. People won't have jobs here. They'll leave.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you to our guest, Robert Goldsmith, for being with us today.
And thank you for watching. See you next time on Watching Washington.